Assalamu alaikum and good day everyone. This video will cover part 3 of topic 6 which related to installation and documentation. Before starting, I like to remind you that there are 6 main topics related to topic 6. The first one, system implementation, was covered in video 1. The second topic, system construction and testing, was covered in video 2, and this video will cover the installation and the documentation, while the training, support, or organizational issues will be covered in the next video 4. So I will start with the first topic in this video, which related to explaining the various types of system installation and also the considerations while planning the installation. The installation is defined as the organizational process of changing over from the current information system to a new one. The installation can be involved 3 important steps related to software installation, hardware installation, and data conversion. And there are 4 main installation strategies: direct, parallel, single location, and phased installation. The details of these installation strategies will be covered in the coming slides. The first installation strategy is the direct installation. It involves changing over from the old system to a new one by turning off the old system when the new system is turned on. This installation strategy is explained in this figure. As you can see in this figure, the old system or the current system is switched off or turned off, and the new system is switched on. This is the most straightforward method, but the most risky method. It has 4 pros and 3 cons. The pros related to no duplication of efforts for the users, no transition cost, learning advantage, and immediately benefits. While the cons related to, as I mentioned before, high risk, cannot compare results with the old one, and finally sense of user insecurity. The second strategy is parallel installation. This strategy is a more popular method than the previous one, and it considered less risky compared to the direct installation method. It involved running the old information system and the new one at the same time until management decides the old system can be turned off. As you can see in this figure, the current system, the old system, and the new system are operating at the same time. This is the time while both of them operating. So it has 3 pros and 3 cons. The pros related to low risk, sense of user insecurity, and ability to compare results with the old because they are operating at the same time. While the cons, duplication of efforts for the users, the second one, transition cost, and finally additional computer processing. The third installation strategy is single location installation. In this strategy, trying out an information system at one site and using the experience to decide if and how the new system should be deployed throughout the organization. This strategy, also known as location or pilot installation, and others refer to it as a branch office or one department. As soon as the location approved the system, as you can see in this figure, here the current system or the old system stopped while the new system started operating in one location, and as soon as this location approved the system, it will be installed in other location. So it has pros and cons. The pros related to at the location, same with direct installation, but low risk for different location, while the cons related to at the location, same with direct installation, but high risk at the same location. The fourth installation strategy is phased installation, and it involves changing from the old information system to the new one incrementally, starting with one or a few functional components and then gradually extending the installation to cover the whole new system. As you can see in this figure, the current system is operating without module 1 because a new module 1 is installed, and then after certain time the current system will be operating without module 1 and 2 because already new module 1 is installed and then a new module 2 is installed. This strategy, it has 3 pros and 2 cons. The pros related to user learning advantage, low risk, and easier installation because it's incremental, while the cons related to long period of change and careful version control. There are 3 considerations to be taken while planning installation in the organization. The first one related to data conversion, which often can be very time consuming. It involves detecting and correcting errors in the new system and loading from current system. The second consideration related to planned system shutdown or downtime, and the third consideration related to the knowledge of the current business cycle of organization. Now I will move to the topic related to documenting the system. This slide presents the various types of documentation. Before I start defining each of them, it's important to know that documentation in general describes an information system and helps the users, managers, and IT staff who must interact with it. And documentation is essential for successful system operation and maintenance. Documentation can be categorized into various categories. In this slide, the documentation is categorized into 4 categories. The first category, system documentation, is a necessarily reference material for the programmers and analysts who must support and maintain the system. It includes detailed information about the system's design, specifications, its internal working, and its functionality. The second category related to user documentation, which consists of instructions and information to users who will interact with the system. The user documentation includes user manuals, help screen, and tutorial. And the user documentation is written or other information about an information system, how it works, and how to use it. The third category is internal documentation, which related to system documentation that is part of the program source or is generated at compile time. And finally, the fourth category, which is external documentation related to system documentation that includes the outcome of structured diagrammic techniques such as data flow and ER diagram. This table 13.5, it indicated that the documentation prepared early in the system development life cycle and not after implementing the system. As you can see, this table describes and lists the system development life cycle and the corresponding generic documentation for each stage. For example, in the requirement specification stage, it's expected to generate system requirement specification and resource requirement specification. This slide presents the generic user's guide outline for documentation. The documentation starts with preface, then it will have introduction section, which presents the configurations of the system and the function flow. And also the documentation will have user interface section, which will include all the screens used in the system and the command types. Also, the documentation will have section which will explain how to deal or to use or to interact with the system, such as how to log in, how to log out, how to save. And the documentation by the end will include appendix and glossary and finally index. This figure shows an example of user documentation which related to online user documentation for Word 2010 provided by Microsoft Corporation. This is the end of part 3 of topic 6. Thank you very much for listening.